Well, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump is back in the game. Honestly, though, it's not really much of a surprise to me. Hell, I doubt it's a surprise to you or anyone in the Republican Party or even within the Democratic Party. He's been signaling that for weeks. If you've been continually following him throughout his rallies, he's just been teasing on the way. And now, on Tuesday, although it's 3 days in advance as I recorded this on a Friday, he announced he is running for a second term for President of the United States. And I pray to God he does win. In fact, right now, it's clear and it's really evident in regards to the 2022 election that Donald Trump is against the entire world at this point. He is not just going after the Democrats. He's not just going after the far left. He's not just going after the mainstream media. He's going after the mainstream Republicans. People like Mitch McConnell, Kevin McCarthy, Liz Cheney, although in all honesty, she's out of politics. And so many other establishment Republicans that just want to see MAGA and MAGA die, and for him to be out of the picture entirely, just completely gone, his entire legacy, Donald Trump's legacy, ruined. Now, it's going to be 2 years, it's going to be 2 more years until we actually get the opportunity to see who may become the next president of the United States. Whether it may be Joe Biden trying to get his second term, or maybe it would be calculate Kamala Harris, or someone else. I do know is that this is going to be probably the most tumultuous time, the most divisive time in American history. I mean, don't believe me? Look at a lot of the mainstream media articles that have been posted around in regards to Donald Trump announcing his campaign. I recall one of them actually saying that he promoted an insurrection despite the fact that it was already declared a massive riot. And of course, Donald Trump, based upon the trial by the Senate, he was found not guilty. In order to be found not guilty, just to let people know, you need 2/3 of the Senate in order to say guilty. The House of Representatives is the one that brings up charges. That's impeachment. But in order for the president or some other official to be guilty, you need 66 or 67 seats within the Senate to say guilty. And they never made that twice. Still, nonetheless, it's going to be very hard for Donald Trump. Now, here's a silver lining for all of this. And despite the situation with what happened with the 2022 elections, and with Mitch McConnell unfortunately retaining his minority leader status, and with Kevin McCarthy being nominated to become Speaker of the House, there is a silver lining. You need to remember, and I've actually just looked at Razor Fist's live stream of Red Dead Redemption 2 when he mentioned this. You need to remember that we managed to kick ass. MAGA Republicans managed to kick ass in the primaries, the Republican primaries. Don't believe me? Remember Liz Cheney? She lost by nearly 40% in the primary, in the state where it's completely Republican. And again, Liz Cheney is such a major figure, or at the very least her family, the Cheney family, is a major figure in politics within the Republican Party. And yet, she is out of the picture. At least within the Republican Party as we know it. She may get some book deals or get invited onto MSNBC or something like that, but she's done. People hate her. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of people see the writing on the wall in people like Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy. Hell, considering the situation with him being nominated as Speaker of the House, that's not even guaranteed. If coming this Congress, there's going to be an election of who's going to be the Speaker, and I'm pretty sure, and considering how many people actually voted against him be nominated for Speaker of the House. At least 30 Republican members voted against choosing McCarthy. There's a potential that he may be ousted from being Speaker of the House. I have no idea. We'll just have to wait and see. I'm not going to be making a prediction. But of course, we have to look at Mitch McConnell. There is also a silver lining to this. While Mitch McConnell potentially still has his seat, or still has his leadership status in the Senate, I can be assured of you, he is not as popular as he once was. He may have gotten 37 Republican senators on his side, but there was still a substantial minority of senators, 10 senators, that voted against him. And many of those people were big names like Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz. Of course, they're not necessarily MAGA material. They tend to stroud the line of between MAGA and establishment. But nonetheless, considering that they actually wanted Mitch McConnell to stay out of his seat, kind of speaks how far Mitch McConnell has fallen. Especially in regards to now the most Republican voters are seeing that, honestly, this was not Donald Trump's fault. This was the entire Republican establishment's fault. Here's the thing. Donald Trump has to deal with a whole lot of issues coming 2024. He has to fight the Republican establishment. It's a long-term goal in order to change up the leadership within the Republican Party. It cannot happen overnight. A lot of black pillars, especially within the 2022 election, thought that was going to happen. It's not. It's a gradual process that takes time. I get it. You want it to be quick. I do too. But that's not how things work, especially within politics. And considering that, again, there's a substantial vocal amount of people that are actually expressing their criticism towards McConnell and McCarthy, and even to some extent Rosa McDaniel, the chairwoman of the RNC, you can see that there's already blood in the water and sharks are surrounding these people. But that's just one issue that Donald Trump has to deal with. Number two, the Democratic Party itself. Honestly, though, this is a given because, well, they're the opposing party, but I'm not just talking about that. I'm talking about the establishment as well as the far left. They still, while they're not as popular, while they are not as popular as before, I mean, take a look at the popular vote for crying out loud in 2022. Republicans managed to win by 5 million votes. They are still adamant about being never Trumpers. Very vocal about that. In fact, that's been basically Joe Biden's entire excuse through whenever he makes a failure. If it's not someone else's fault, like generals or the corporations or the banks or anything, it's Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans. But again, that's already a given. Joe Biden, though, I don't know if he has signaled his intention to run for a second term, but considering how badly he's been acting in terms of, well, his possible Alzheimer's or dementia, whatever, you could possibly see a change in leadership. I'm not talking about the 25th Amendment. I'm talking about he could be potentially primaried, but I don't know for sure. That's about 2 years off as I'm going to be making this video. In fact, I could be looking back 2 years from now, and I would be just cringing at myself. Number 3 is, of course, the election system. I don't think I need to get too far into that. In fact, I already made in my previous video with Kari Lake and Katie Hobbs with the gubernatorial election. Just in Arizona itself, there's so many problems. And of course, you have in Nevada a universal mail-in system, and in the case of Pennsylvania, you're allowed to vote early as well as have mail-in ballots. In fact, you're allowed to vote so early that in the case of the 2022 election, many votes were casted before even seeing the debate between Fetterman and Oz. I'm honestly pretty sure that had some effect in regards to how Fetterman managed to win the Senate seat. But nonetheless, I'm 100% full on Donald Trump. I don't think that DeSantis is going to run. I know that a lot of establishment Republicans as well as mainstream media are trying to tout it out as light MAGA or MAGA light or something like that. But I don't think he's going to do that. I think that would actually piss off a lot of Republicans, believe it or not, in a strange way. I get that there are a lot of people who are DeSantis voters. Hell, if I would choose Ron DeSantis or Carrie Lake as my second choices for president. But considering he just recently won an election for his second term as governor of the state of Florida, I think that would feel like that a lot of Floridians, and this is a leaning red state now, not a swing state, a leaning red state. A lot of Floridians would feel like they've been abandoned by their own governor, especially a popular one, because he wanted to get his name into politics more, and he's not focusing on the people he should be focusing on at all, which are Floridians. But again, this is 2 years in the future, and a lot of things can happen during that down that road. There will definitely be a few figures that will be coming up. Ted Cruz, I heard, may potentially go. Marco Rubio, I have no idea. There are so many people that may potentially put themselves in the ring. But in all honesty, I see this as being a Trump win. At least him getting the nomination. I'm pretty sure that a lot of states would just suspend their primaries and then call it for Donald Trump. Because after all, he is way popular. DeSantis is still second place with a good portion of the Republican base, but Trump still has high approval ratings. And I would not be surprised if he does become the nominee. Whether he wins the election or not, the general election, whether or not he wins the general election or not, remains to be seen. I pray to God, though, that people choose correctly after having to deal with 4 years of Brandon screwing up this country, that they choose Donald Trump. My name is Noah Meehan of The Arc Truth. Please post your comments down below, like the video, subscribe, share with friends. Also, if you have any issues regarding my videos, such as any improvements you want me to make, please post it down in the comment section down below or directly message me. Thank you.